Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about number 4 of surviving in difficult financial times post-COVID. I think for number 4, we'll talk about do without. We talked about our saying in the first episode, fix it, use it up, make it do or do without. So we'll start off this episode with talking about doing without. And especially when times are, tough financially, I always try to cut back and just do without some of the stuff that I might want. I try to make a distinction on what do I really need, what do I have to survive, and what would I like to have. And so then when times are hard, I focus on what I have to have and cut back on what I would like to have. And I think that's another way in which I'm able to get by is because if need be, I can make do with almost nothing, with very little, as long as I got a roof over my head and some nutrition and some feed for everyone. I'm able to get by pretty much. I will say that doing without is something that you have to be prepared for, kind of. If you're not prepared to do without, then it's going to be much harder to actually do without. I guess that sounds kind of funny, but for example, I would say we can 70% of our food that we eat, we grow. And so we can every year, and as much as we can, and freeze and preserve it in whatever way we can. And so at any given hard time, we can always just eat what we've canned and not buy food for a month or two if we had to, or longer. But we'd probably get bored a little bit with eating some of the same things over and over, but we could make do in a pinch. And so really, to make it easier, you kind of always have to plan as if this is your last, and you're trying to stretch it. And then when you actually do run out and do come on hard times, you'll have already stored some stuff up for it, and that's really what makes it a breeze to get through, I would say. Other than that, from a religious perspective, I would say, without God, obviously, I couldn't do anything. So ultimately, everything, good that happens came from Him. The other thing is, when times are really tight, I try to not incur any major debt. I think that's a big thing too. If you can just ride the waves and live as minimal as possible and not incur any major debt, then when times come up, you won't be in such a bad place and struggling to get your head above water again. And I think it's important to have a positive attitude, because you can get really down and depressed in difficult times, and remember that difficult times are temporary. Just like happy times are temporary, difficult times are also temporary, and life is, you know, up and down like a wave. You have up days and down days, up weeks and down weeks, and up years and down years. And so you just have to have a win-win mentality. And that's probably half the battle right there, is just thinking positive and being very careful how you spend your pennies, trying not to spend as much as possible. And one thing when it comes to avoiding debt, another thing that I do and I feel is really important is to avoid credit cards, and if possible checking. And part of my opinion obviously has to do with religious beliefs. In Islam, we don't believe in interest. We see interest, charging interest, and um, using interest transactions as sinful and detriment to society, because basically interest is charging poor people more money than the rich people because they're poor and they don't have enough money, so you charge them more. And it's something that God has always been opposed to in all the different scriptures. Interest is something that God has never been pleased with, and so that's something that we really try to avoid. And I think it makes a big difference not having interest based transactions. Saves you a lot of money and keeps you from going in debt. You're not paying 3 times what the item is worth because of the interest, which is what most people end up doing. They get a loan for something, and when times are hard, it's just, you don't want to spend any more money than you have to, and you don't want to go into any more debt than you have to. So I would say avoid any kind of loans with interest, and avoid like credit cards, even checking accounts that charge interest. You can get some interest-free checking accounts, but the ones that charge interest and all those overdraft fees and everything, avoid all that, anything like that. That's just going to cost you more money. And it's a very interesting prediction, which people who are not Muslim might not know about. But Prophet Muhammad mentioned that in societies where they use interest, the main method of money transfers, whatever, that were based on interest, in those type of societies, there would be an increase of depression and mental illness. So it's just something to think about, that there's a link, or if you're non-Muslim, maybe you don't believe that, but it's still worth checking into, that there could be a possible link into how much depression and suicide and mental illness we have in our society. And is there a link there between all this debt and charging people unjustly for these type of things? And so avoiding it can actually bring you peace of mind if you don't have all that debt, even though you might not have everything you want. If you have your basic needs fulfilled, and you can keep peace of mind and be grateful for what you have and just keep working ahead, in the end you'll actually be happier, or at least that's how I feel. You'll be happier in the end, because despite the fact that I don't have a mansion, my taxes are paid, I have feed for my animals, and I'm at least getting by. I have food to eat. In good times, I would be making money on top of that. In bad times, I'm at least getting by. So I guess that's kind of the mindset that I have, and how I look at things in that regard. So the last tip that I had in mind was basically work harder. Um, that's probably for most people a given too, but that's the only other thing that I can think of besides what I've listed so far is when hard times come, you know, I try to take on extra work, get a part-time job or take on some extra projects I can make some money from or something to bring in more money. And somehow with a combination of all those tips that I've listed so far, we're able to get by. We have, take on a little extra work, and try to grow all your food as much as you can. Save money wherever you can, patch it instead of throwing it out, um, and eat what you got and try not to spend more than you can afford, and try not to go in debt. Those are I would say the number one thing or the main things that I do to survive during difficult times. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and I'd love to hear comments, what you guys think about it, and also things that you guys might do to save money, or how you guys are surviving in difficult times.